Well, welcome everyone. I still see a few of us, a few folks are joining. We have over 100 participants right now. The largest food and beverage companies are looking to Israel innovators to solve specific problems. For example, how to bake or boil or malt your beer more efficiently, how to find foreign bodies in the food so we as consumers don't choke on something that shouldn't be in there. But they're also looking for ideas to solve big strategic problems. So we'll hear today about sustainable supply chain and what that means. So we have a great lineup today. We're going to break up our meeting, our 1 hour meeting, in two parts. First, we'll have a panel, the food and beverage challenges, 30 minutes. And then I will hand off to Yariv Lotan of Startup Nation Central, who will introduce us to 3 startups and technology companies that will address these challenges. If you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A and chat. We probably won't be able to address them live, but we'll try to address them in the chat itself. And as far as networking with others who are on the call today and about 1,000 other members in the II4 community, I encourage you to join or log in over there. Actually, we're almost at 1,000 members. I think if everyone who's on this call today joins, we'll hit our 1,000 mark. So encourage you to join us. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Adam Zowell, and I am the head of the II4 community. Welcome. And our mission as a community is to close the gaps between manufacturing and the startup world. And that's exactly what we are doing today. And as I said, we're doing that not only here on our webinars, but also on that website. So let's get into it. We're going to start with this amazing panel. And we're going to go around the room here. I'm going to have everyone tell us very quickly, what is it that you personally do at your companies? And if you can summarize in just a few minutes, what's your company's innovation strategy specifically around Industry 4? And Daniela, I'm going to give you a couple extra minutes as we've discussed, because I think you are somewhat new. You and Grupo Bimbo are somewhat new to the community, and it'd be great to learn more about what you're doing. So Daniela, over to you.
Thank you very much, Adam. It is a pleasure for me to be here with you. I appreciate the invitation, and to everyone that it's actually taking the time to be here in this panel, I would like to just introduce myself and the company to the community. I will show very quick 2 slides of the company overview to just to give a little bit of the context. Grupo Bimbo, it's a Mexican company. We mainly produce packaged bread, and for that we are considered to be the largest baking company in the world. We have presence in 33 countries. We have more than 53,000 distribution routes, more than 100 brands. And the most important thing, I think, for this event right now is that we have 203 baking and manufacturing plants around the world. Myself, I have been working for the company for almost 10 years, and I am right now the Director of Innovation Scouting for Israel for the company, right? So the next slide, it's very quick. Oops, a second. Something happened to the presentation. Okay. These are just, now, can you see it?
Yep, still the first cute one. Oh, there's the second slide, perfect.
Okay, great. So this is just a slide to show you some of our leading brands across our markets. You may or may not recognize a few, but here you can see that we not only do baking, but we also do confectionery, sweet baked goods, cookies, cakes, salty and sweet snacks. So this is just as for your information. And now, me specifically, Grupo Bimbo, it's searching for technologies and for disruptive innovation all across our value chain, specifically for Industry 4.0. As you see, we have 203 manufacturing plants. The aim of that is to search for things that can help to automate those plants, to help us to reduce the waste of those plants, to be a little bit more sustainable, to help us with robotics and to be more efficient and to be a little bit more sustainable. So I don't want to take a little bit more time of that. So hopefully that covers it. So thank you very much, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Daniela. Of course, we'll dive into some of those topics, but it's great to get to know what Grupo Bimbo is all about. Jamil, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, my pleasure being here. Thanks, Adam. And my name is Jamil Staiti. I'm the Director of Industry 4.0 and Engineering at Strauss Group, which is a multinational food and beverage corporate headquartered in Israel, but active in more than 20 countries. Regarding the innovation strategy, we have three main pillars. Two of them are around the food tech, and one of them mainly focused on Industry 4.0. So when we talk about the food tech, maybe you are familiar with the Alpha Strauss venture, which is an internal team who's developing new disruptive business streams. And the second one is the Kitchen Hub, which is located in Ashdod, which is an incubator developing startups from scratch. When we look at the Industry 4.0 activity, which I'm leading by myself, which we started before 3 years, we are focusing on a very wide strategic thinking, covering many activities such as assessments and road mapping of manufacturing plants, learning and training programs, what we call upskilling, developing standards for smart machinery and infrastructure procurements and implementations, testing technologies, doing many POCs with many of the startups in the audience, but also from the global ecosystem, leading impact-driven projects with POC covered technologies or services, and last but not least, developing generic and scalable platforms that can be duplicated from line to another within the group, which is one of our main challenges, because just doing islands of technologies, it's not good enough, and we need to find how to make the whole value for the organization. So for the Industry 4.0 activity, we have a small team which is dedicated, that has a very clear agenda, interfaces, and of course, very important, budget. So when we look at our challenges, we are mainly focused on the operations for now, for the beginning, looking at the OEE, which is a very wide scope, and also the sustainability with all the components inside it.
Yeah,
that's it for now.
Thanks, Jamil, and thanks so much for helping prepare for this event. So you and I spoke early on while we were planning, and one of the things you suggested, which we're doing, is to focus the discussion in on common challenges. So already both you and Daniela mentioned, sustainability, and I suspect Avi's going to talk about it as well. So we will dive into these common topics. But can you help set the stage? We, in the invitation, I think one of the reasons many people joined us is we said in the invitation that food and beverage is one of the leading sectors in Industry 4. First of all, did we lie? Is it truly, from your perspective, do you think it's a leading sector? And if so, why?
I think that the whole manufacturing industry is challenged, and in particular the food and the beverage industry. When we look at this industry, we need to separate it into two groups, because when we look at the medium-sized and large organizations that we have in the panel right now, they have innovation or Industry 4.0 leaders, which are leading many activities and enable those organizations to be early adapters. But when we look at the small organizations, they are the real challenge, because those organizations have challenging organizational structure, limited capabilities, and also culture, which does not always support such moves, which are much disruptive. Unlike the automotive industry, which has dozens of manufacturers, the food industry is much more decentralized and maybe have thousands or tens of thousands of manufacturers around the world. Another point is low equipment turnover. So we may find a machinery which are in the age of 40 or 50 years old with no any connectivity capabilities, and in some cases, no detailed documentations even, which makes it much more challenging as a starting point. So there's no winning answer for this question, but definitely there are some leaders who are moving forward, And of course, we have also responsibility to the rest of the industry to push all the small players together with us, because the big change will happen only when we cover all the players in the food and beverage sector.
Thanks, Jamil. If I knew what you were going to say, I would say now let's go to a small food. Let's hear from a small or medium-sized food and beverage company. But we're going to go to Natalie from Nestle. So, hi, Natalie.
Hi, good afternoon or good morning to the ones over the United States. So hi, Adam, Yariv, and team. Thank you so much for having me here and hosting me. I'm Natalie. I'm the Director of Global Digital and IT Innovation at Nestle. Nestle is the largest food and beverage company in the world in general. So I run the Tel Aviv Innovation Outpost, and we perform POCs and pilots with mostly Israeli or Israel-related startups. We work very, very heavily also in other spheres beyond the core, which means enterprise software, data and analytics, wellness, and other domains that are not necessarily related to food and beverage, because if we see the R&D of Nestle, so of course it's being focused on food, beverage, packaging, and sustainability. But for us, it's also finding and seeking digital platforms and innovation that would assist us in other processes within the company. So Nestle is very, very active in innovation, and it was recently ranked as one of the 50 most innovative companies by the Boston Consulting Group. We're mostly seeking for cutting edge technologies in the domain of Industry 4.0 in order to reduce costs, to reduce, of course, waste, to have a better facilitation of processes, and of course, to improve our manufacturing, supply chain, and logistics processes within the company globally.
Thanks, that's great. Last but not least, over to you, Avi.
Hey everyone, I'm Avi Kramer. I head tech innovation at ABInBev. I'll say a few words about the company since it's not that familiar in Israel. So ABInBev is the largest beer company in the world. 1 out of 3 beers that are being manufactured in the world are owned by us. Some of the brands that you definitely know, Corona, Budweiser, Leffe, Stella, etc. These are some of our brands out of 500 brands that we have. We have 175,000 colleagues across the world, operating in more than 50 countries, and selling in 150 plus locations. So a little bit about kind of our team and the way that we're structured and the way that we're operating. So my quick history is I spent 3 years in the global headquarters in New York, and about 1.5 years ago, I moved back home to Israel with the great help of Startup Nation Central, by the way, to build our tech innovation hub here in Tel Aviv, where initially I was focusing on the Israeli tech ecosystem, but now we've actually expanded globally, and we're looking at the supply chain. So for us, it's 2 functions, supply and logistics. Supply is our manufacturing side. Also looking at procurement, food tech, and agro-tech related initiatives. In terms of our ways of working, our modus operandi, I think it's pretty similar to what the others have mentioned. We're very, very much linked into our business counterparts within the global headquarters and obviously within our different zones to understand what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and then we look for the right partnerships, set up the pilot to test out the technologies, but eventually the main goal is scale up, because this is where the impact really lies, and this is where we're aiming at. In terms of kind of some of the areas that we're looking at, I'll mention high level. So looking at brewing and quality of our beer. For example, we're leveraging computer vision to detect defects in our packaging, process optimization, maintenance. We're deploying sensors on our machines to make sure that we can monitor the health and actually prevent malfunctions in the future. Obviously, safety of our employees is a huge priority for us that I may touch upon a bit later on. On more on the logistics side, so we want to make sure that we have the right balancing between predicting the demand of our beers and actually manufacturing them, and then obviously distributing them. And transportation is a really big part of our supply chain, as in some of the countries we have thousands of trucks deployed. Warehousing, automating some of our warehouse operations, and last but not least, sustainability, which really goes across our supply chain.
Thanks, Avi. Welcome.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed you listing the various beers that you guys are responsible for. Well, let's get into it. So, we gathered, in advance some of the topics that are common across everyone here, and I see some people raising their hand. Unfortunately, we're not going to have time for Q&A here, but post your questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to them there. So we gathered some of the challenges. We actually made a spreadsheet. I'll share the link to that. So for those of you who are out there who have challenges, if you're in the food and bev space, or if you know of challenges, please add to that spreadsheet so we can kind of continue this collective knowledge. But we'll dive into some of the topics that I know at least the four of you have in common. So let's start with predictive maintenance. And actually had this as predictive maintenance and safety. It may, in some cases, cross over to safety. But let's start with predictive maintenance. And Natalie, why is predictive maintenance and machine health particularly important for you?
Yeah, so this is a very, very important domain for us. It has the ability to reduce unplanned downtime of essential and critical machines. It will allow us to save a lot of costs of the downtime. We're highly prioritizing machine health, focusing mainly on AI platforms in order for us to have actionable insights into our production equipment. One of the main advantages in predictive maintenance is the fact that the ROI can be shown only within a few weeks, which is very, very good for us also to create this relationship. As my counterparts over the panel mentioned, it's a lot of work with the different business units, and specifically on Industry 4.0, we work very heavily with the operations that includes supply chain, manufacturing, logistics. So for them to have the ability that the ROI to be shown so quickly and to understand this asset of predictive maintenance, it helps us to create a better endorsement of these solutions by the operations apparatus all over the world. So it's been one of the most important domains that we're currently focused on, both at Osem Nestle in Israel, but also globally in Nestle Waters in the US, Purina, and other essential factories that we're working with. And we're very happy to be doing this with Israeli startups.
Great. Would you say, and I know this is a bonus question, has this AI for predictive maintenance been implemented, or it's being implemented, or it's
It is already being implemented, actually with several startups, so I will not mention specifically. Some of them are also attending this this session. So thank you for your collaboration. Really happy to be working with you both in Israel and globally. And of course, it's been very helpful for us also to accumulate the ROI, and it's been super helpful for us. And we will, of course, we've been already working not only on the pilot mode, but rather we've implemented a full rollout, and we'll continue working as paying customers of these startups.
Great, thanks, Natalie. Daniela, if you're free, I'm not sure if you're available. Yes, okay.
Yes.
So what about predictive maintenance? And I think you've got an element of safety tied with your interest in predictive maintenance.
Correct. Grupo Bimbo, it's known to train their associates that are working within the manufacturing plants to be focused in predictive maintenance. Why? Because we acknowledge the importance of having all of our lines in the best shape possible. However, for us, the predictive maintenance, it's more focused in terms of safety. We are searching specifically for technology that can help us to prevent anything that can compromise safety inside our manufacturing facilities. For example, anything that can prevent gas leaks or fires. This is highly important for us. Unfortunately, we had a few accidents over the past years regarding fires, and it has been complicated to really to detect and to prevent anything that might trigger an accident of such sort. So I have been in touch with a few startups here that does predictive maintenance and are focused in safety. However, it is still a challenge to really create something that can help us to be more focused on safety and to prevent that type of situations for us. So I think that's the main issue for Grupo Bimbo at the moment.
Thank you, Daniela, for sharing that. And I know it's a sensitive one, and we know other companies are wrestling with that too. So we thank you for opening up. So on the safety front, Avi, safety is a priority for you guys as well, I presume.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that our CEO, in every session that we have with him, I think the first sentence that comes out of his mouth is safety of our people is our #1 priority. And we've seen great examples for that also in COVID, the way that we support our colleagues in different countries that have been suffering more through the pandemic. And besides that, we are constantly seeking for tech that helps us safeguard the people in our operations. So just, a few examples, I would say, or areas where we're looking at. We're working with a few startups that deploy computer vision to detect hazards within our breweries. So for example, making sure that, that the employees are wearing the PPEs and are working in only the safe areas, the safe zones, just a couple of examples. Also, man-machine interaction is a huge issue for us. I think we're doing pretty well in terms of alerting, but there's no machine intervention where actually the machine can stop when it sees, when it detects some kind of a hazard. So this is a challenge that we still have. Some of the tech that we're deploying for safety can actually be used to improve our productivity within operations. For example, we're using indoor location positioning systems where we have beacons kind of spread in our warehouses, and we use it for detecting safety hazards, etc. But it actually helps us understand movements within our facilities, paths of our employees, and actually trying to see how do we optimize according to that. So we actually gain extra benefits for that. That's why we always encourage also our peers to act as serious as they can in safety, because there are also other benefits coming out of that. The last example is safety around our fleet. So for example, in Latin America, we have thousands of trucks on the road. We own our fleets in those countries, and we make sure that we protect the safety of our communities as well. So both our drivers and actually the people in the community. So we use in-cabin technologies. And just recently, we've announced an initiative called Together for Safer Roads, which is basically a coalition of leading businesses and public sector leaders like PepsiCo, UPS, and others. And we designed a challenge to improve fleet safety and save lives. This is kind of the mission of that initiative. So yeah, safety is definitely a big priority for us, probably the #1, and just want to make sure that, that I give out a few examples to make it a bit more tangible for the crowd.
But when the CEO starts every discussion with it, I guess it becomes culturally embedded in the organization. Thanks for sharing. And Jamil, I know, I'm sure safety is a priority across the board there at Strauss, but you had a very specific, interesting challenge around a different kind of safety, the foreign body case. You want to talk about that and your ideas for how that could be solved?
So all things mentioned previously are important also for Strauss and also for the rest of the food and beverage industry, and they are pretty well covered by many startups in Israel, but also abroad. In one area, which is foreign body detection, it's something that I don't know what's the reason. Most startups in Israel are not covering. And if we look at the food and beverage industry, which is mainly based on metal detectors and some X-ray systems, the challenge here is the variety of foreign bodies and objects that may be present in the food. So metal we are familiar with, we may find glass, plastic, hair, or other things. In addition, the medium tested is not homogeneous, which is a very challenging issue in the food and beverage area. The distinction must be made between the foreign body and the real product, not mentioning the packaging challenges that may contain some detection barriers and the food players here are familiar with. So we have done several attempts in the past with some vision systems, RF solutions, but they are still not robust enough and not commercialized yet. So I call any startup here or entrepreneur who wants to solve such challenge. It would be very interesting and profitable for all stakeholders if you find such solutions for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamil. That's great to have some of those specific challenges that we could work on, and maybe next year when you have this event, you'll say, okay, that problem's been solved, and you'll have your new list. So we have 6 or 7 minutes left before we hand over to the Yariv, the startup. So we have a couple of topics. So supply chain. Avi gave us a good overview of sustainable supply chain. Natalie, I know you're looking at robots and drones. What problems are you trying to solve there?
Yeah, so first, I think that in the Israeli ecosystem, robots and drones are not as developed as in other countries. So I do encourage Israeli startups also to go towards this direction. They are very relevant specifically for Nestle, not sure about the other companies, but we understand their value not only for surveillance and safety, which is usually the immediate suspect, but also for inventory management, quality assurance, for shelving, and actually to monitor proper manufacturing processes within our different factories and distribution center. We think it could be highly valuable for us and for, of course, other manufacturers to be working more in this sphere. I think it could save us a lot of costs in terms of men and of working, and I think it could be very valuable for companies to develop more platforms in this domain. And we would be reaching out to you, hoping there are drones and robots companies also not only for surveillance and safety, but despite the fact that it's also very, very important. And I do encourage you to reach out to me and maybe to my counterparts also and share your solutions in these domains. Would be more than happy to automate these processes as well.
Yeah, that's great, Natalie. And thanks for encouraging it on the robotics side. We've noticed how strong it is in the education system, but when it comes to the startups, not as many as we have in other areas. Daniela, did you want to? I know you mentioned something about the oven energy efficiency before and how that ties in. Did you want to add anything about that?
Yes, of course. So Grupo Bimbo has a very big goal to accomplish for 2025. We have established to be 100% renewable with electric power. Okay. So up until now, we have reached already 80% of that goal. We have very big aeolic park working in Mexico that supplies aeolic energy to most of our facilities in Mexico and in some parts of Latin America. We also have already migrated to solar panels for most of our facilities in America, which is great for us, but still, as you might assume, as you already assume, we work with very big ovens that use gas for baking our products. And I think it is for us a very big challenge to try to reuse the energy that comes out of those ovens. And I know that there are technologies already out there that can help us to do that. However, we would like to go a little bit further than that. To understand if there is any technology that we can use to create the same power generated by gas with solar energy, with aeolic energy, or I don't know, maybe the reusing of those energy within the oven. The challenge here is not only technical and technological, but also to really not put us at risk the quality of our baked products by using that type of energy, right? So again, I call like all of my peers here to people, if you have, or if you know any technologies that can help you to try this, it would be very good for us.
Thanks, Daniela. 80% achieved sounds quite remarkable.
Yes.
That's great and encouraging. So we only have a few minutes left. I know we had this optional topic of data, and we had a previous event focused on MES and dove into the data. But Jamil, I know this was another area you had ideas for where startups are and aren't focused on the data side.
Yeah, I think startups are focused there, but we don't see yet enough value or business value. So we are still in a gap of buy-in of the executives in the food and beverage companies, because when we look at those companies, they are mainly data-driven and using AI capabilities for the finance and the marketing sales sectors. and less in the manufacturing or operations and supply chain sectors. So when I look at the operations and specific plants where we have SCADA systems with historians gathering so much historical data, I think that some startups here, even on this event, are starting collecting those data and gaining value, a real business value. But we are still at the beginning, and I think that the potential is much higher than we see right now. And I think that the panel after us, Adir and Lior, will explain it further.
Excellent. Anyone else on the panel have strong feelings about data they want to share in a minute? Nope. Okay. Well, I think we could stop right there, right on time, actually. And I just want to thank you, Jamil, Daniela, Avi, Natalie, so much for this fantastic panel.
Thank you all.
There are plenty of questions, in the chat. If you have the time and energy to respond, I'm sure everyone would appreciate it. And I will also, you'll notice in the chat a couple of links. Yariv sent a link to the solution database, which he'll talk about, and I sent a link for a Google spreadsheet where we're sharing these challenges, crowdsourcing them. So whether you have the challenge yourself or you've heard about it, let's keep this discussion started. So with that, I will turn over to Yariv for the startup and tech portion. Yariv, over to you.
Thank you very much, Adam. Hi, everybody. It's great having so many of you with us. And I think to counter this very insightful discussion from the food and beverage manufacturers, I think that it's only fair to try and showcase some of the very interesting and quite amazing solutions we have in Israel applied in this vertical specifically. And we have with us three very promising entrepreneurs and three intriguing companies. But before that, I want to mention to touch on what Adam said, is that we have, and I'll share my screen with you, we've released and launched this year, the guidebook of applied solutions for Industry 4, which you can see on screen right now. It basically contains as many as 90 cases. I guess we'll get to double that in the next few months. Of all the relevant solutions we have in Industry 4 in Israel. And basically you can easily filter the relevant solutions based on the industry vertical and obviously based on, and based on the relevant challenge areas like automation, robotics, and cyber, and so on. So you can use this tool and basically get in touch, and you can definitely go to each case and understand which problem it solves, the type of the solution, the value it brought customers, and so on, and even see case studies and company profiles and demo clips as it is available per case, and ask us for introductions. So I urge you to use it, and I hope it will bring more value to your search for amazing and outstanding solutions. And with that, I want to turn to our panel. So we are happy to work with the multinationals that were on stage, and with many more. And we want to sort of do a showcase of those solutions. So we'll do a sort of a showcase panel with TrueNovate, with Filit, and with SIBO, and try to really quickly understand the type of solutions they bring, type of problems they solve, and the value they have brought customers. So I would like to invite, first of all, Adir. Adir Oren is the CEO of TrueNovate, a solution provider for MES and OE software, doing it in multiple companies and industries. And I want to start with you, Adir. Tell us about the problem that you are trying to solve with your solutions.
Great, Yariv. Hi everyone. Thank you for having us. It's a great event. TrueNovate started as a full MES solution end-to-end. And in the last couple of years, we have enhanced our platform to touch in the specific key challenges that in the specific food and beverage industry is relevant. So our solution, our platform deals with the first issue of the food safety. And when we talk about food safety, it's not only the elements of the predictive ones, but also the QA, the lab. We're making sure that our food that we eat from the plate is safe for all of us to eat. And this is something that we enforce during the manufacturing process to making sure that we have all of these KPIs aligned with the food safety. The second one is we call it OEE, as Jamil also said, but we're also focusing on the cost reduction. And we're talking about to minimize the cost production in the manufacturing line. It deals with several of elements. It starts with the waste that all of the manufacturing companies would like to reduce. The downtimes, and in the downtimes we have a specific solution as a predictive maintenance, as downtimes, stoppages, anomaly detections. And the third part is automation of the whole process. We support several of companies with full automation. We're connecting to the online controllers. And when we have an online alert, we give the controller a key element to whether to stop the process or to alert the managers on a specific issue, to making sure that the whole process is not in a risk. So these three key elements we support in our platform.
Excellent. So can you share with us some of the values a customer like Strauss or others in that space are enjoying with your system?
Of course. So Strauss is one of our biggest customer in Israel. As Jamil said, Strauss have several of companies, and we support in one platform several of manufacturers. Strauss has a coffee manufacturing, they have the sweets, the dairy. So in one platform, we implemented on every factory as a true rollout. So we start in one module, we show the value, we get the response from the factory itself, we get all of the rejects, what is needed to be modified. And then after we see the result, we implement it in one and other factories as a rollout. And this is the key success. We're starting with the short successes and then moving up and scaling to the full factory with the full Industry 4.0 solution.
Super interesting. So just to recap for our audience, basically you have both the MES and the OE solutions. So companies can use your MES solution or use the OE as a rider, and you basically support all of that. Maybe in a minute, can you share with us also the types of future developments you're working to extend your offering?
Of course. So one of the key elements that we are currently working on is to create a dynamic OE solution for the manufacturers. So in the normal state of solutions, we calculate the normal formula of OE, and we had a feedback from the field that the manufacturers want to calculate by their OE. So we're working on a dynamic OE as part of the roadmap. And we're supporting also a dynamic screens, meaning that every user will be able to write his own screen. When the operator comes to the factory, he will be able to see his own data as he wants. He wants to see this count of gouges. He wants to see this kind of information. It will be a tailor-made OE solution per operator. And this is only a couple solutions that we're working on. Of course, you will hear about the other panelists about the predictive maintenance solution and predictive manufacturing. This is also something that we're working on, but our focus is to give the ability to the operator to enhance his ability to take decisions in the production line.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Adir.
Thank you.
And I'm turning on to Meital Bar, the co-founder and CTO of Fillet, who does nanometric-based sensing for IoT applications. Meital, great to have you with us. Tell us the type of exciting problems that you encounter with your sensors.
Thank you. Thank you, Yair. So basically, we are here for really the main problem that were mentioned in the panel, the great panel. We are here to reduce downtime, unexpected downtime, to reduce safety issues, unexpected equipment, pipe leakages, just as was mentioned, and high energy costs. Our solution is condition monitoring and predictive maintenance. We have a unique solution that uses nanotechnology sticker and wireless IoT edge unit that enable us to monitor this type of flow system. And what is really special is that our sensor stick from the outside of the pipe, of a valve, and feels what happened inside. And that means that you need zero downtime to install our sensor, and you get actionable insight right away. And current solution to monitor flow system, you probably need to drill a hole in the pipe, and this is very intrusive, and a lot of time is not applicable for retrofitting existing structures.
Super interesting. Actually, do you have a sample of the sensor that people can see, or is that something that?
Sure,
I was trying to put it on my kids, but Mital didn't let me. But it's so cool, the fact that you can stick it on a machine and get so many aspects of measuring coming out.
Yeah. So here you see the sticker. Can you see my screen here?
Yes.
So it's very flexible, and the dark area are really the nanomaterial-based areas that enable us to have very high sensitivity to deformation, pressures, and temperature, and enable us to measure what happens inside the pipe completely from the outside. So we can monitor the asset condition and also the process parameters.
And can you tell us a little bit about the value and the benefits that food manufacturers or beverage manufacturers you work on? I think in our early conversation, you mentioned a dairy manufacturer that you work with.
Yes, so for dairy manufacturing, or in general, we help in energy manufacturing, and that really comes with steam. I mean, a lot of these manufacturers use steam as part of the process, and in general, sorry.
Thank you.
And basically, it's part of almost every major industrial process. And we see that this type of steam system usually have these steam traps that enable the efficient process, but these type of mechanical parts that are usually not being monitored. Some have annual audits, but still you have about 25 to 30% of a leakage rate in between this year, and that is a meaningful loss of energy and money at the end. And we are able to continuously monitoring this type of steam traps, and by that really save energy and operation expenses with a quick ROI. At the example we had already with the large dairy manufacturers in Europe, we were able to show that 30% of the steam trap were leaking right upon installation. Very quick ROI they had with our sensors, and that enabled us to really have this meaningful impact on their manufacturing.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mital. I suggest that both Adir and yourself and Lior, if you can put up your contact details, so manufacturers interested in contacting you will be able to do so. And moving to Lior Kavya, co-founder and CEO of SIBO, who deals with predictive quality and yield solution. Hi, Lior. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us. And
hi, Ariv. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So let's talk about the problem you're trying to solve. What's predictive quality all about?
Absolutely. So let me start by saying that SIBO is the #1 predictive quality and yield solution for food manufacturers, and specifically for baked goods manufacturers. Using SIBO, manufacturers reveal the hidden causes of their losses using process-based artificial intelligence. So manufacturers use SIBO to predict and prevent quality, waste, and yield solutions. But let me be slightly more concrete. And let me speak about few common losses that we see at baked goods manufacturers. We see rejects due to weight. We see losses due to net weight overweight. We see variability around size and shape of baked goods. We see many quality variables that are quite difficult to control and so on. And the one thing all these losses have in common is that they're all caused by inefficiencies in the production process itself.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And so what I'm wondering is people probably wonder, how can you predict those kind of problems, and how long does it take to implement it?
Sibo invented this spatial type of AI. We refer to it as a process-based AI. It means that our artificial intelligence relies on an understanding of the process in order to get to accurate and actionable insights. We integrate to existing sensors, existing data systems, and we basically enable the manufacturing team to answer 3 questions. The first one is, why do process inefficiencies happen? Using automated root cause analysis, we enable the team to get to the primary suspects of their losses. The second question is how to prevent such process inefficiencies using predictive recommendations. In other words, we enable the team to discover the optimal process settings. And the third question is, when should the team act in order to prevent process inefficiencies using proactive alerts so that the team can act before losses actually happen. Using these capabilities, production teams get to continuous process mastership using artificial intelligence.
And can you quote the level of yield appreciation or yield increase that your customers in this vertical enjoyed or are enjoying?
So generally speaking, yield metrics are a bit complex,
okay.
But if I refer to a slightly more intuitive a type of loss, which is waste, we've seen it ranges between 20% to around 90% in the best case we've seen so far. So there is no way to predict what exactly going to be the level of savings we will see. But as I mentioned, we've seen very dramatic savings.
Wow, amazing. And can you share with us how long it takes for a manufacturer like that to implement such a system, and if it requires additional settings or equipment?
So what takes time, generally speaking, in implementation is to integrate to the existing systems. We've seen processes that are as quick as several days. Sometimes it depends on the red tape. And we've seen slower processes taking 2-3 months. I've even seen longer cases. Usually once the system is deployed, the production team can get benefits, can get actual value within days.
Very impressive. And so just a final question. Since one of your key industries that you focus on is food and beverage, can you share with us why that is? What's so unique about that industry that predictive quality in a solution like yours applies even better than in other verticals maybe?
So you're absolutely right. We work with many food manufacturers. Few examples are Nestle, PepsiCo, Mondelez, Barilla, Lindt, as well as our friends here in Israel, Tnuva, Strauss, and Osem. And things are moving very quickly. We grew about 400% in the last 12 months. So we're in a very good momentum, specifically in the food industry. And what we love about the food industry, on top of eating food, is that we see huge amounts of data, sometimes on a single line. You can see hundreds of thousands of units being produced every day. We see complex processes with dozens of different assets, complicated traceability challenges, complicated dependencies between assets and tags. And eventually we realize that the human brain is not built to deal with complex systems. There are too many parameters, changing all the time, and the human mind cannot digest it effectively. That's why the combination between a process-based artificial intelligence and the human intelligence can create such an important value to manufacturers.
Super. Leo, thank you very much for joining me. Also, I want to thank again Meital and Nadir for your presentation. I hope it was insightful as I found it for the audience. And again, you can find the details here for everyone you want, or you can just reach out to Adam and me and ask us for an introduction. You have the guidebook to use. I want to mention one last thing, and that is we've just released yesterday supply chain logistics map that covers the Israeli ecosystem for solutions in the supply chain logistic space. So I urge you, it also appears somewhere at the link to it and to our resource page. Is found in the chat, so please go for it if you want it. And over to you, Adam.
Wow, Yariv, thank you. That was amazing. And what's almost as amazing is that we finished this event on time. We're actually going to give minutes back. That's a record. But thank you so much, Yariv, Lior, Meital, Adir. That was fantastic. So today we've heard, from the beginning, some of the biggest and most innovative global players and their challenges. And then we just heard some very exciting Israeli tech solutions to those challenges. So I'd like to thank all the speakers and to all of you out there listening. For those of you who are doing this particularly important work in this food and beverage sector of efficiently and safely and sustainably producing all of this critical stuff, I wish you great success in your initiatives. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Thanks everyone. Bye.